You're listening to Halford and Brough.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Well, I'm off to destroy Canada. They've had it too good for too long.
I believe Freddie Quimby should walk out of here a free hotel.
Brendan Batchelor is doing the wave or some sort of weird dance now.
It's coming home.
Good morning, Vancouver. 6:01 on a Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. It is Halford. It is Brough. It is Sportsnet 650. We are coming to you live from the Kintech Studios in beautiful Mount Pleasant in Vancouver. Now, I say Halford and Brough in the morning, but today, very special day. Greg Balloch, better known as Laddie, in the co-host chair. Good morning, Laddie.
Hello, hello.
This is going to be a weird way to do it. Good morning, A-Dog.
Good morning.
And regular Zach. Good morning to you as well.
Good morning.
Halford and Brough in the morning is brought to you by Sands & Associates. Their clients often say, I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off of me. Don't say it. If a debt is weighing you down, visit sands-trustee.com for more. We are in hour one of the program. Hour one is brought to you by North Star Metal Recycling. Vancouver's premier metal recycler pays the highest prices on scrap metal. North Star Metal Recycling, they recycle, you get paid. Visit them at 1170 Powell Street in Vancouver.
We're broadcasting live from the Kintech studio. Step strong with orthotics and footwear from Kintech. And guests on Sportsnet 650 call in on the Able Auctions hotline. Email sales at ableauctions.ca to get your business assets sold and your building cleared.
Good job, buddy.
What the hell is going on?
What is happening here? Greg will be with us in the co-host chair for a couple days while Jason is away. We got a big show ahead. We got a big guest list ahead. It is the Duick Morning Drive, brought to you by the Duick Auto Group. It begins at 6:30 this morning. Adam Jenkins, analyst from One Soccer, is going to join the program. As you may have inferred from Zach's intro, Canada's run at the World Cup is sadly over. The Canadians fell 3-0 to Morocco on Saturday to bow out of the round of 16. We'll talk to Adam about that and everything else from the World Cup at 6:30. 7 o'clock, Felix Sicard is going to join the program. What a name, Felix Sicard. He is from the Crash the Pond podcast, an Anaheim Ducks podcast, and McKean's Hockey. Crazy weekend in Anaheim for the Ducks. Leo Carlson, Pavel Minchikov, all sorts of big contract wheelings and dealings. Felix Sicard is going to join us at 7 to walk through what's going on. 7:30, Zach Worden, Blue Jays writer from Sportsnet. Tough weekend for the Jays in Seattle. No rest for the Jays, of course. They get back into action tonight in San Fran as their West Coast swing continues. Zach Worden for some Blue Jays talk at 7:30. Finally, at 8 o'clock, Kevin Woodley, NHL.com and In Goal Magazine. Canucks talk, goalie talk. We'll go around the biggest stories of the NHL weekend. Our goalie guru, Kevin Woodley, is going to join us at 8. Won't work in reverse on the guest list. We got a lot to get into, so without further ado, Zach, let's tell everybody what happened.
Hey, did you guys see the game last night?
No. What happened?
I missed all the action because I was... We know how busy your life can be.
What happened? Missed that?
You missed that? What happened?
What happened is brought to you by our good friends at ATS Traffic. Safety is not a shortcut you want to take. From design to execution, ATS Traffic is your full-service traffic safety provider. Visit them online at atstraffic.ca. We are going to begin with everything that happened in the World Cup over the weekend, but first and foremost, Canada bowing out in the round of 16 after a 3-0 loss to Morocco on Saturday. It was a valiant effort from the Canadians, especially through the first 45 minutes, but ultimately their lack of finish and, quite frankly, a lack of quality. And we'll get to the Alphonso Davies stories as well. It ended Canada's very successful World Cup in the round of 16 with a 3-0 loss to Morocco. Your thoughts on the match, Laddie? I want you to dive deep into soccer here.
Well, you're the soccer expert, so I'm going to defer to you mostly. But
Sure.
I do have a lot of questions, as do a lot of Canadians after what happened. And first and foremost, I think you mentioned the Davies conversation, and we've had a lot of texts coming in the inbox already about that. And do you think Jesse Marsh's hands were tied? I know you have a unique perspective on this, but there's got to be a reason he didn't come in to that final game.
All right,
because
let's unpack
it's
this.
Alphonso Davies.
Let's unpack this. We'll start with the decision to not put him in that match, as A-Dog likes to say, in a vacuum. So let's just focus on the Morocco match. Davies told the gaffer he wasn't ready to go. Now, After the match, Marsh did say that Davies had a clean MRI during the week, I believe it was on Friday, and that there was a hamstring injury that crept up, I believe it was on Thursday, that had Fonzie worried about his availability for the match. So that's the backdrop to this. During the match, became pretty apparent that Davies tested it out in a little bit of a warm-up. He had the Theragun going to try and loosen things up. It wasn't going to happen. It became more and more evident as that match went on. For those that were saying, can't he suck it up and give his country 10 or 15 minutes in the biggest match in Canadian soccer history? From a purely technical and tactical standpoint, it's bananas throwing a guy on in a substitute role that's hurt. If he goes in, and let's say he blows out his hamstring in the first 4 minutes, now you've basically wasted one of your substitutions and you only get the 5. And you've wasted essentially 2 changes. Let's say, for example, that Davies went on for, I don't know, Richie Larea in that match. And you have to take Davies off. Well, now you've wasted 2 substitutions filling 1 position on the pitch when you might have been able to leave Richie out there for the full 90. And now your hands are tied in a match where you're chasing goals and chasing results. So from that perspective, totally understand why he wasn't used in that match. But,
And Alphonso Davies, his special power is his speed, is it not?
yes,
So
it
a
is
hamstring injury, I
superpower.
feel like, would play a big part in affecting his speed, which is his main factor anyway.
Sure. Now, people will say, but he appeared against South Africa in the round of 32. And when he came on, you could tell that the lift that he provided to his teammates, even though he clearly and visibly wasn't at 100%, was impactful. I do not argue this point. I think that his presence in the South Africa match gave that team a lift in terms of spirit, fighting ability. I will probably have to ask around even more than I have to eventually get to the bottom of this, but here's what I think. I think that physically and mentally, he wasn't there, and pushing him to get into that and him pushing himself, let's make no mistake about that, to get into that South Africa match was a lot. I think mentally, he's grappling with, and it's not just an injury that he suffered once and needs to get over. It's the recurrence of the hamstring injury. I also think that his manager grew more and more frustrated with the situation throughout the tournament. And I think that's why Marsh said in his post-match scrum on Saturday, all that stuff about the clean MRI, and it was Fonzie's decision not to play. I think Marsh, to a certain degree, wanted to, 1, wash his hands of the situation, and 2, have an explainer at the ready for why he didn't come on as a sub against Morocco.
Do you think the fact that he came into that game against South Africa, he sort of realized that he didn't have anything in the tank worth World Cup quality to play in that game against Morocco?
I don't think that was necessarily it. I just think the fear of re-injury was that high. I think it was probably just as high as it was in the South Africa match. You could just tell when he came in that he was at 65, 70%.
Such a tease, though.
It was such a tease. Very labored in the South Africa match and couldn't go at the speeds, like you said, his superpower. And here's the thing, that this is probably the most bothersome of it all. Alphonso Davies really shouldn't be the biggest story coming from Saturday's match, because there's lots of other more intriguing, more compelling, quite frankly, more useful conversations to have. But I noticed it right away in the aftermath, and it really took off on Saturday afternoon and evening following the match. It was the story that everyone glommed onto, and rightfully so. It's your best player. It's the biggest match in your country's history. He's not there for it. It's the most easy and obvious conversation to have. But I think what a lot of people are left with in the aftermath is not a lot of really great answers to their questions. Like right now, I'm sure some people have listened to the first 9 minutes of this show and have said, I'm still not getting a full sense of why he couldn't just go out there and play. It is super layered and super multifaceted, for sure. I think there's about 8 or 10 different things going on, including the Bayern influence in all of this, which I think played a role. I'm not saying Bayern came in and specifically said, do not play against Morocco on Saturday. But Bayern did just sign a shiny new young left back who could be a Davies replacement. Bayern did have one of their staff doctors with Davies throughout the duration of Canada's camp at the World Cup. And he's done this injury, and he mentioned it as well, Davies did in his post-match media availability, that he's done his hamstring 3 times in the last 12 months. that every time he thinks he's getting back and he's ready to go, he does it again. I think that mental hurdle ultimately was the one that he just couldn't jump over, possibly because of his hamstring.
Well, it's not an injury you can really hide in the game of soccer. I forget the player you mentioned last week, but he said he ran 14 kilometers during the World Cup game.
Andres Cubas.
Like, if you have a hamstring injury, you're not coming close to running 14 kilometers. Like, I'm sorry, you can't reasonably expect somebody with a hamstring injury in the game of soccer to just jump in there.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not, it's not hockey. You can't battle through it. It's just not something you could do and expect to compete against a team like Morocco.
Okay, now let's turn our attention to the other major talking point following Canada's loss to Morocco on Saturday. And those were Jesse Marsh's remarks afterwards, that he felt that Canada was a better team and that he would rather have been, after a 3-0 loss, still us rather than them.
Now, Bruff really hated this comment. So if I'm in Bruff's chair, do I have to take his stance
can
and
be
just
Bruff.
dig in about how much I hated that Jesse Marsh comment?
Did you hate the Jesse Marsh comments?
I kind of did. I kind of agree with Bruff on that
Mhm.
one. I think you don't come out and say, even if you believe that Canada was the better team in that game, you don't come out in the media and say it. Because
How
it's
did
just,
he really think that? How did he actually think
it's
that was
just
a better
fodder,
team?
right? At
Okay.
that
It's
point.
so ridiculous.
Fair. Okay. I
They
think
obviously we're not.
I think
better team.
First off, Jesse Marsh should not be doing media immediately following a match. There should be some sort of cooling off period, and especially for him. I believe the one great line from a guy that wrote from the Telegraph this weekend is that he overdoses on emotions. And he really does.
Mhm.
He would be wise to just take a beat and not talk so passionately like he does to his players.
Like they
with the
hung in there
media
the
following
first
a match.
half. Like
Sorry?
first half was pretty good.
What he was trying to do was he was trying to say that he was proud of his guys, but he went about it in a way that was super hyperbolic. I think we can all agree on that.
Mhm.
And kind of dismissive of the opponent,
I was going to say insulting to Morocco, a little
which
bit.
didn't give them any credit for what they were able to do in the second half. That being said, first half of that match, Canada outplayed Morocco. They were the better side. I don't think they were a significantly better side. I don't think they had enough quality chances on target to say that they should have been up more than one, but they should have been up one.
Mhm.
And if there's any lesson that Canadians watching that match should have taken away, it's that at the highest levels, to be a top 10 ranked team in the world like Morocco is, you need that extra little bit of quality in the few fleeting moments of a 90-minute match where impact needs to be made. Tani Oluwaseyi in the first half did not capitalize on his chance. Now, a few things went into that. One, incredibly good stop from Bono, Montreal-born, by the
Mhm.
way, who's a very high-end keeper, quality keeper. Those differences in a match where you've got a world-class keeper, he makes a save, you don't have a world-class finisher, he doesn't put it in behind. Match takes on a totally different vibe if Canada goes up one in the first half. And we talked about this last week as it related to the big upset in the round of 32 when Paraguay beat Germany. They were able to score first. They were able to capitalize on a chance, and it tilted that match on its head. The other one, the near upset in the round of 32, the biggest one, was England-Congo, where Congo was able to score early, was able to capitalize on their early chance, and it threw that match into arrears and almost caused the second biggest upset of the round of 32. So from that perspective, Canada didn't follow the script. Canada also didn't follow the script because there were too many mistakes made in the second half. A lot of self-inflicted wounds.
Well, not scoring first is the big one that stands out, and they only did that in the one game. And it's hard to win when you don't score first and you get scored on,
Mhm.
as Canada likes to, apparently, in the World Cup. But I saw a lot of comments after the first half in that Morocco game, people saying, what a great first half, as good as you can expect from Canada against Morocco. And I just had this pit in my stomach saying they didn't get one on the board.
Mhm.
And that is going to come back to haunt them because we know Morocco is going to come out on fire after the break. So what happened? Exactly that. Morocco comes out and scores the first goal. So the fact that they didn't get one, even though they had a decent amount of run of the play in that
Mhm.
first half, just crushed them, I feel like.
They just
Yeah.
couldn't bury their chances. Like they just couldn't finish.
It was very similar to the World Cup match against Belgium
Yeah.
in Qatar in 2022, where they were raving about how great they played in the first half and they were down 1-0. And if you want to look at this tournament now, and you talk about the two highest ranked teams that they played, and that was Morocco, who are in the top 10, and Switzerland, who's in the top 20, Canada was outscored 5-1 on aggregate, and were only able to find the back of the net once in the second half of the Swiss match. They went 180 minutes and were only able to find the back of the net once against the quality opponents that they had. They filled it against Qatar, as they were expected to. By the way, Qatar match also the only match in which Jonathan David found the back of the net in this tournament. That was a major problem. They had issues in their attack. Taniolo Ashei played a lot this tournament. No goals to show for it. Promise David left on the bench until very late in that match against Morocco. Was probably their most consistent finisher across all of the matches. Kyle Larin, very erratic tournament for him in terms of finishing. Scored the huge goal against Bosnia in the opener off the bench. Got a handful of starts. Didn't really feature all that prominently in others. They don't have that last little bit of quality yet, which is fine because it's an emerging footballing nation still, Canada is very much. But when you're talking about it at the highest level in the fine lines and all those cliches, you do need someone who's going to be able to execute when those moments come along, because you can't just keep relying on gusto and vigor and grit to carry the day. It'll get you and win you the battle of expected goals, which is what I think Marsh was kind of alluding to in the aftermath, but it's not going to actually win you the match.
And it's a big point that Canada, even when they were healthy, probably didn't have the quality that you're speaking of.
It's a very good point,
I
Greg.
forget the stat that I saw, but I saw that I think it was just the high-priced players past a certain threshold. Morocco had 11 of them. Canada had 3. And that just tells you that they just don't have and then 2 of those 3 were players that were injured for Team Canada. So
you are bringing up a good point here. Like, they definitely didn't have the depth of squad to the Davies loss for sure. The Kone injury was killer. Although I thought Nico Segur was terrific in that last match.
But that would have to kill your expectations, would it not? If we're
for
speaking
sure
honestly here,
it should. But despite all those injuries in the first half, across any metric, eye test, expected goals, fancy stats, basic stats, whatever, no one's arguing that Canada wasn't the best team in the first half of that match. So even with Kone now doffing his crutches and able to hobble around, and Marcelo Flores still with the torn ACL, and Davies out, despite all that, they were still able to put forth a first half where they were the better team and they should have found the back of the net. Now, the problem is that they didn't. And when you started to go down the line and it came time to bring in quote-unquote impact subs to try and chase goals in the second half, now you're looking at, well, can we squeeze 15 minutes out of Jacob Schaffelberg? Are we going to bring Liam Miller in? How many strikers can we throw at them? What else do we have to try and get a spark? And you saw it. They didn't have it. They just simply did not have it.
Gary the Atheist brings up another point that I wanted to make. He said, talk about the set pieces. Absolutely terrible. How many corners did they have?
I think it ended with 11.
11 corners?
I think it was finished with 11.
And was a single one of them even remotely dangerous?
No, it was very poor. It was very poor. And I did think that there was an opportunity to bring Promise David, who's just an absolute Goliath, a specimen of a man, to bring him in earlier to try and cause more chaos on set pieces. It didn't happen. The set pieces all tournament were lacking. Especially in the second half of the Swiss match, I thought with all the chances that they had from corners and from long throws.
I feel like there's been a problem for a while, has it not?
Yeah, nothing really materialized from them. I know a lot of people were giving Eustachio grief for his service, and I didn't think it was ideal, but it didn't seem like they had the way the modern game has gone with how much pressure you can get off set pieces, particularly corners, and you see it in the Premier League all the time.
You see the other teams doing it this World Cup.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like they ever had the right kind of setup, the right service, the right guys crashing at the right times to try and make life difficult. It was very disappointing. And Morocco seemed more than content to concede those corners because it felt like they were never going to have a hard time defending it, and that was a problem as well. Okay, we'll put a bow on the Canada talk. There's a couple other massive stories from the World Cup right now. The one that has taken the world by storm, and we're still getting updates on this right now, is U.S. President Donald Trump's role in FIFA's stunning decision to allow U.S. striker Folarin Balogun to be eligible to play tonight against Belgium in their round of 16 match. Now, Balogun, in case you missed it, was red carded in their round of 32 win over Bosnia. With that red card comes an automatic minimum 1-match suspension. Only yesterday, FIFA announced that the suspension had been suspended. Through Article 27 of the FIFA bylaws and guidelines for this tournament, there is I would call it an obscure ruling, which they have used in the past, to be fair, which allows the disciplinary committee not to overturn a red card, but to suspend the suspension. I think that's the important thing here. Is nobody is saying that we have rescinded the red. What they're saying is they're going to kick the can down the road on the automatic suspension. It may be served at a later date. We don't know, but it won't hold Balloch out of tonight's match. Now, as you can imagine, there's a lot of backstory to this.
Belgians are upset.
UEFA's upset. Former FIFA president Sepp Blatter took to Twitter this morning to express his dismay in the decision. There are multiple reports from various outlets in the U.S. with sources who claim that Donald Trump did make a call to Gianni Infantino. Now, the nature of those calls, it seems very ambiguous at this point. There are some reports that on the advisement of his lawyers, he made the call to inquire more about what could be done and how the ruling works. There are others that, of course, are suggesting that it played an influential role in Infantino then making the call to the disciplinary committee to get the red card overturned. I do not think that this saga is done by a long shot. FIFA gave Belgium until 5 a.m. this morning the opportunity to, wait for it, appeal the suspension of the suspension. We all got that in listener land? Belgium gets an opportunity to appeal the suspension of the suspension.
So if it's successful, they'll suspend the suspension of the suspension?
Yes.
That's right.
That's correct.
Very well done. I don't know
what happens to that suspension then.
Then that gets suspended.
Oh.
Or it just gets deferred.
Ah.
I don't know. There are reports from The Athletic. Adam Crafton, who we've had on this show before, by the way, has been all over this story for The Athletic. He has reported that according to his sources that Belgium has filed that appeal. Again, this is all happening right now. Belgium had until 5 a.m. this morning to file their appeal. This is, of course, 12 hours before, the match gets played tonight. Belgium-U.S. round of 16, 5 o'clock tonight from Seattle. Again, now, if you've got questions about this or you would like us to dive into it more, text in. Dunbar Lumber text message in basket is 650-650.
Man, I just hope the U.S. gets absolutely smoked. That would be awesome.
So you bring up a really interesting wrinkle to all this, is that the match still needs to be played. Now, Balloch has been the U.S.'s best player in this tournament by far.
Shocking that they would overturn his suspension like that.
It's crazy, right?
Crazy.
Didn't see it coming. He is vitally important to what they do, but this is still a Belgian squad with a lot of quality, and will still give the U.S. a test whether Balloch was in the lineup or not. The fact that he's there, if the U.S. is to go on and win this, there's going to be a massive asterisk beside it, and I don't know how the rest of the tournament plays out with that hanging in the backdrop. If they don't win, it is going to be one of the more intriguing subplots moving forward, because now they've opened up a can of worms. For example, there was a red card in the match yesterday for Jarrell Kwanzaa in England in a match we haven't even talked about yet, but was fantastic at Azteca. Every red card now comes under scrutiny and has opened up this Pandora's box about whether or not you're able to rescind, because here's the crux of this whole thing. They've never said, and FIFA doesn't have to open up the black box as to why, the reasoning behind overturning this particular red in a tournament that I believe has had 13 red cards now.
They're not used to having reasons for their giving reasons for their decisions.
Because they're not overturning the actual decision. They're just suspending the suspension. And part of this is, yes, absolutely, they're making it up as it goes along. I mean, there are some people that are saying this appeals process that the Belgians have been granted is just kind of been drawn up out of thin air. They're like, yeah, sure, here's an appeals process. We made it up
do it
overnight.
all the time.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it is one of those things where you kind of knew at some point a tournament hosted in the U.S. was going to have political overtones beyond we got this because of who we are, and flexing your muscle politically in the footballing realm is a timeless thing, right? There are countless countries that have done this before. Corruption has been widespread, and it was long before in the World Cup, right? FIFA is no stranger to corruption, no stranger to political influence. So to suggest that this is the first time this has ever happened is kind of laughable. People will point to Cristiano Ronaldo being available for the start of this tournament when he should have had a 3-match ban for what he did in qualifying. Yet somehow that also got Article 27 away. Right? This falls at the feet of Gianni Infantino and FIFA. And if I know anything about FIFA, it's that in the face of controversy, like me trying to get through a read, they'll just power through.
That's right.
Just go right through it.
The Mike
Just power
Halford
right
approach.
through it. Speaking of reads, I need to tell you about Jan Pro. Not satisfied with your current cleaning service? Jan Pro delivers consistent results and responsive customer service. Start clean, stay clean. Visit them online at janpro.ca.
That was tremendous segue. Witnessing that segue in person.
That's why they pay me the medium-sized bucks, laddie. Let me tell you. We got a lot more to get into on the program. We are going to keep it on the soccer tip here. Adam Jenkins, our analyst from One Soccer, is going to join us. So we'll talk about Canada bowing out to Morocco. We'll talk about the Balogun red card overturned. We can also talk about what happened at Stadio Azteca yesterday in Mexico, where England, thrilling 3-2 victory over Mexico in what has been the match of this World Cup. It's all coming up in the second half hour of the Halford and Bruff Show on Sportsnet 650.